Today we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing decimals. So go ahead in your notebook, go to this first page, your table of contents, and we are going to say, 3, 4. Now it's going to be multiplying and dividing decimals. And our date today, 8/23. All right, so we have this, and we're going to go skip over what we did yesterday and go to page 3 and then 4. On 4, you're going to put multiply and divide decimals. Multiplying and dividing decimals can be a little bit trickier than just adding and subtracting. You don't just line up the decimals, you have to move the decimals a little bit. But for the most part, you still just multiply and divide like normal. So let's take a look. When we multiply decimals, so that's going to be our first one. I'm going to go ahead and use a different color. This also has to do with skill 1. So if you just want to write skill 1 at the top, you don't have to rewrite it. You already wrote it once. Let's see, multiplying decimals. All right, so let's just go through, write all the steps, then we'll come back and do an example. So the first thing we do when we multiply decimals is set up multiplication. Again, leave some room off to the right here, so you have some room to write the example. So set up multiplication by aligning the numbers, not the decimals. Set up multiplication by aligning numbers, not decimals. So it's unlike adding and subtracting. Your decimals do not have to line up when you multiply. Next thing we're going to do is just multiply normally. So same way you do regular long multiplication. If you need some help with that, I can help you, but for now we're just going to say multiply normally. Third thing you're going to do, you're going to count the number of digits behind the decimal in both factors. So remember, factors are what we're multiplying by. So count the number of digits behind the decimal in each number we multiplied by. Once you do that, your final thing, move the decimal point that many places to the left in your answer, which is, remember, in multiplication is called a product. All right, so let's try an example to see how this actually works. So as our example, let's go ahead and do 2 3/4 times 4 2/10. So if we do this, we're just going to, step 1 says set up multiplication by aligning the numbers. So they should line up here at the end. See how our decimals don't line up? Like when we added, then that's fine. Then we're just going to multiply normally. So we'll start all the way to the right. 2 times 4 gives us 8. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. Add our 0 placeholder, then do the next number. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus the 1 is 9. Then just like normal multiplication, we're just going to add. So 8, 12, carry the 1, 8, and 9. Just added those two. Then to find our decimals, we're going to count how many numbers are to the right or behind the decimal. So if we look here, I just like to start at the decimal and then kind of hop backwards. So there's 1, 2. I'm going to put a little 2. And then here, there's 1. So together, 2 and 1, that gives us 3. So you're going to move that many times to the left for your answer. So 1, 2, 3. There's your answer, 9 and 828 thousandths. So go ahead and go to the side over here. I'm going to have you try a couple. And if you get stuck on any of these, you can just watch me do it in the video if you don't have an answer. We're going to try 2. We're going to do 2 and 5/10 times 3 and 9/10. And that one's already lined up for you. And then the other one I want you to try is 5 and 13/100 times 2 and 9/10. That one's not lined up for you. Go ahead and try those two. So now that you've tried those two, 9 times 5, 45, 9 times 2, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 3 times 5, 15, carry the 1. We're going to do 3 times 2, 6, add the 1, 7. Then we'll just add these normally, or just add these. 5 plus 5 is 10. In there. 7 plus 2, 9, 10 again. And then 2 plus 1 here will give us 3. So I messed up the first time I did this. I forgot my placeholder, which is okay. That happens sometimes. So I rewrote it down here, and I'm going to start over. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 2 gives us 18, plus 4 gives us 22. Don't forget that 0 placeholder when you go to the next number. 3 times 5, we get 15. Carry the 1 up again. We'll do 3 times 2, plus 1, so 6, 7. Then we can add 5, 7, 9. And we're going to count our decimals. So if we count, it's 1 this way, 1 that way. So we get 1 for each. 1 plus 1 is 2. So in our answer, we're going to go over 2 times. This one, I'm going to quickly just write this one out. And you can just kind of check your work as you go. Again, multiply 9 times 3, 27, 9, 11. 9 times 5 gives us 45, plus 1, 46. 0 placeholder. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 5 is 10. Add them. 7, 7, 8, 4, 1. Now we're going to count our decimals. So I have 1, 2 here, 3, so it's 2 and 1, which I already said 3 because that's how many it is all together. So then I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, and my decimal's there, 14 and 877 thousandths. Okay, now let's take a look at dividing decimals. So if we look at dividing decimals, some words that you need to know with decimals as we go through these, some that I will use. Remember that what we are dividing is our dividend in the inside. What we're dividing by is our divisor. And our answer is called our quotient. So when you set it up, dividend on the inside, divisor, quotient on top. All right, so when we divide decimals, let's just look at our steps first. The first thing, if there's a decimal in the divisor, so if there's a decimal on the outside, you won't always have to do this, but if there is a decimal on the outside, move the decimal to the end. So move the decimal to the end, which just means all the way to the right. And then what you'll do is you'll move the decimal in the dividend the same number of spaces to the right, just to even it out. So once you move the decimal, then really you're just going to divide normally. Before you do that, what you should always do though is move the decimal straight up. Once you've taken care of that decimal, all that's left for you to do is just divide. So here's our 4 steps. If you have those down, pause if you need to write them down. Let's try an example. So if we were to do 253 4/10 divided by 2 5/10. So remember the first number goes on the inside. 253 4/10. 2 5/10 is going to go on the outside. Now you'll see we have to move our decimal over once to bring it all the way to the end because we have a decimal on the outside in our divisor. We moved it once on the outside, so we have to move it once on the inside in our dividend. Then from there, just bring it straight up. It's important that you line these numbers up when you divide. Now we'll just divide normally. So 25 can't go into 2, but 25 can go into 25 once. 25 times 1 is 25, so that's what we'll subtract. We get 0. Bring down the 3. 25 can't go into 3, so 0. 25 times 0 is 0. Subtract, we get 3. Bring down the 4. 25 goes into 34 just once. 1 times 25 is 25. Subtract, we end up with 9. You can add another 0. 25 goes into 90 3 times. So we get 75. And then when we subtract, we get 15. And I'm going to stop us here.